Hey, hi, hello. Welcome to Diana Emerson today. We're listening to Murder Comes to Town, and this is No Witness.
Quiet nights are a given out here in the tiny flats of Monk's Corner, South Carolina. But that quiet offers little peace to a parent whose child hasn't made it home. Jennifer Hill last heard from her 18-year-old daughter, Dana Woods, a few hours ago. She called from the local burger place where she'd stopped for a late-night snack.
It was at 11:51 that night, and she told me that she was at the drive-thru, and she said that she was going to give somebody a ride home, and that she would be home shortly.
Dana also mentions her friend, 22-year-old June Gary, is with her and is planning to spend the night.
I actually felt safer with June riding with her because that meant she wasn't out late by herself.
But Dana and June should have been home over an hour ago, and Jennifer's calls to her daughter are strangely going unanswered.
The only time she didn't check in with mom is if, for some reason, her phone died. Dana always had her phone on her. You could always reach her. You could always see where she was.
By the time 3 hours had passed, I was beyond scared.
So we go out and we're thinking that possibly they've gotten a wreck, maybe.
I have a flashlight that I had pulled out that was a pretty powerful light and drove around and just looked in ditches and up along the banks of the woods on the other side of the ditches just to see if we saw our car.
For the worried parents, it's hard to know which is worse, finding the car or not.
I'm calling the police.
We're looking and checking the woods and we couldn't find anything. We couldn't figure out what was going on.
A deputy of the Berkeley County Sheriff meets Dana's parents at a local gas station.
We've tried calling her and we can't get a hold of her.
They basically told her that, this just happened, give it a little bit of time. Maybe they ran into some friends and they were just chatting and lost track of time.
We knew something wasn't right, but they're looking at it from a different point of view,
And so the night drags on, and their worry grows.
At about 6:30, I called June's mom and told her that the girls hadn't come home and didn't know where they were at. And I told her I had already talked to the police department. June had a daughter, Emma, who was 18 months old, and June definitely wouldn't have gone and left her daughter. She called like every 30 minutes just to check on Emma to make sure she was okay.
Without any hesitation, June's father and brother-in-law joined the search.
We all immediately went out searching, just different roads and different back roads.
In this isolated part of the state, there are plenty of back roads, places where one could easily get lost or disappear.
June's family has lived out here their whole lives, so they knew a lot more back roads than me and my husband did.
With everyone's help, Dana's car should be easy to spot, thanks to some DIY repairs by a handy cousin.
She had a little accident one night on a dirt road near our house, and she got it fixed, but the door was a different color.
The family search continues for hours, without success.
In the early hours, we thought that it was a car accident. Later on, about midway through, it kind of turned more fearful for everybody. And then we just couldn't find the car. That's when everybody really got scared. Something had to be wrong. Somebody had to have done something. They didn't have any reason to be missing.
Then, just as June's family begins heading back towards Monk's Corner,
There it is. June's father and brother-in-law had spotted Dana's car. They spun around to go chase the car. Who's that guy driving? Something's going on here. This is not right. This is bad.
It was a three-way split in the road, and they didn't know which way to go on.
They attempted to keep up with it to see who it was and where it was going, but the person driving the vehicle evaded them.
with no sign of the girls and a strange man driving Dana's car, the families feel this is proof the girls aren't just out on a joyride.
The next time we talked to the police department was within minutes of June's dad and brother-in-law seeing Dana's car.
For the captain of Berkeley County's investigative division, Rick Aulick, it's time for his team to step into action.
Now we know that they're not with the vehicle. There's a single white male driving the vehicle. Then we said, hey, we need to do an incident report and let's move forward and figure out what's going on with these two young ladies.
Sheriff's deputies are dispatched to patrol where Dana's car was spotted, just outside of town.
There's a very good potential that the vehicle's still in this area. There's a lot of side roads. There's forestry roads. There's all kind of roads they could get on.
Meanwhile, Sergeant Gino Altieri places a call he hopes can provide a valuable lead.
I need to track the location of the cell.
As they wait for those reports to trickle in, detectives turn to Dana's parents, Jennifer and Leonard, to get up to speed on the missing girls.
Dana was the middle child, and it made her more of a go-getter. Made her want to stand out more.
Dana liked to make videos and put them online, and she would always try to get me to be in them.
She always felt like she needed to take care of her sister.
Me and Dana were really close. We talk about almost everything.
Recently finishing high school, 18-year-old Dana is holding down 2 jobs to save money for law school.
She was strong-willed, and her dreams were important to her.
I always say that she was my stubborn, hard-headed kid, drove me crazy, but she was mine.
As for June, though she was 4 years older than Dana, the two became fast friends when they met during Dana's freshman year of high school.
They met at the bus stop. About a week later, June showed up at our door, wanting to see Dana. After that, June just would periodically show up at our house, or my girls, Katie and Dana, would walk over to June's house.
We had the same common interests. June was just strong-willed and outspoken as Dana was.
Now 22, June works hard stocking shelves at the local box store to make sure her 21-month-old daughter never lacks for anything.
She was a single parent, and she was doing the best she could.
She was a loving, doting mom who, just like any mother, they die for their children, and June was definitely that mom.
Which is why it's so alarming to both families that these 2 headstrong young women are missing.
They're in a situation where they feel desperate and they feel like that you need to be out there looking for my child. But it's so important to question them about who are your children? What are they like? Who do they associate with? How familiar are you with June?
Very.
June came over to the house quite often, She called me Papa Lynn, we got along great, She's like part of the family.
Does they have a boyfriend?
I called him. She's not with him.
Dana had an on-again boyfriend named Chris Feathers. They knew each other from school.
They seemed pretty happy most of the time. Every once in a while, they would have a big fight.
She was kind of headstrong. She would give him a hard time, but they would get over it and they'd work through it.
Any other boys she was going with that you may have gone to see? What about Rodney White?
Rodney Waste came up as being someone that had some connection to Dana. He was wanting maybe a relationship with Dana.
Before jumping on the lead, detectives visit June's family to see if they have any stronger suggestions.
Do you have any idea who June and Dana might have given a ride to?
I mean, between high school and work, you must know half the people in Berkeley County.
You can hear the desperation in her voice. And she was advising that, June has never done this before.
Does she have any friends who live near where you saw Dana's car?
Arthur Chavis. Mm-hmm. His grandma lives up there, and he stays with her.
June knew Arthur pretty well. I believe that they met at a party or something several years ago, and I think June knew his sister, and I think his sister had children also, so they kind of had something in common.
If you think of anything else, let us know.
Assuming something criminal is taking place, detectives turn their attention to interviewing the most likely suspects.
We needed to find Dana's boyfriend, Chris Feathers, and so, when's the last time you talked to her? When's the last time you seen him?
They dated about 2 or 3 years, so he definitely became a person that we really wanted to talk to.
I've been trying to call Dana every 10 minutes after her mom called me this morning. I want to drive in the woods to see if I can find her.
When was the last time you saw her?
I'm at her house last night. Left around 9:30, 10 o'clock.
So he was one of the last ones to see her also.
Where did you go after you left Dana's house?
See a friend of mine over in Somerville. Stayed there till about 2 a.m.
Name and address, please.
How is that going to help find Dana? We know she didn't go over there.
Of course, he was upset because of the situation. We had no information that there was any problems between the two of them. But that doesn't mean we should exclude it, because you never know what's going on in people's private lives that their parents don't know about.
Just as suspects are beginning to mount, police get another promising lead. The report from Dana's cell phone provider lists suspicious activity after the girls went missing.
We got information that there was a ping from Dana's cell phone on Frontage Road over on the Somerville side of Berkeley County.
Cell phone information is not exact. It's a pretty much 3-mile radius in a circle. So it's a good starting point.
The mysterious ping at 3:30 a.m. breathes new hope into the investigation. Unfortunately, it also expands the range of the search for Dana and June by 20 miles.
We had a new area to look at. We weren't just looking at Monk's Corner anymore.
Halfway between Lake Moultrie and the Cooper River, Monk's Corner lies in the heart of South Carolina's Low Country.
You grow up here, you can go away, but you don't want to stay long. You always come back to your roots. You don't have to worry about locking your doors. Everyone here is like one big happy family. We all know one another.
So when Dana Woods and June Gary don't return from a midnight run to the local drive-thru, their relatives and friends immediately assume something bad has taken place.
It was just pit of the stomach, just overwhelming fear and anxiety and just a horrible feeling. On social media, I made a post that said, if anybody sees Dana, tell her to call her mom. Everybody was saying, they're going to be all right. They're going to be found. There has to be a reason, but they'll be safe. They'll be fine. We were calling all of their friends, everybody we could think of. Have you seen them? And with every no, it just meant go search down another road.
Although Dana's phone last pinged on the other side of Berkeley County around 3 a.m., detectives decide to retrace the steps of Dana herself, starting at the burger place where she last called her mother.
Anytime we're investigating a missing person case, we try to backtrack it back to the last person that might have seen him.
She came to the drive-through. She was with that girl that she always hangs out with. I think her name's June.
How about security cameras?
Yeah, sure.
Detective Fenton pores over the footage looking for any clues. Another passenger, strange behavior, anything that would indicate the girls are under duress.
But with the videos, it was still limited as to who was with them or if anybody was with them at that time.
The only indication we had was they left the fast food restaurant. That's it. I mean, that's basically all we had. They just left there, and God only knew where they went.
We got a call that there was a vehicle that was located off of King Gully Road. The person that found the vehicle was doing some fishing or something, so we had a unit respond.
It's not unusual in rural parts of the county to come across burned vehicles.
There's a lot of woods in Berkeley County, so it's a good place to dump stolen vehicles and burn whatever evidence that you think you can get rid of to escape from being caught.
So where's the car?
It's down the trail. We didn't run back to any tracks.
The vehicle was burned to a crisp. I mean, there was basically a shell and melted pieces of car.
Eventually, we were able to locate the secondary VIN and verify that that vehicle did belong to Dana Woods.
With the car identified, the investigators begin searching the area for related evidence.
I got something. Showcase. It's like 9mm. Looks like we got drag marks here.
Not far from the car, they noticed what it looked like something was drug into the wood line, and they went and investigated that.
We located a white female. It appeared that she had a head wound.
At that point, we had every reason to believe this was the remains of Dana Woods.
When a missing person case turns into a homicide, it's very, very concerning. Also, we knew that Dana and June were together, but June's body wasn't anywhere around there.
At this point, we've got the burnt car, we've got the remains of Dana. Where's June?
For the child's sake, that her mom was still alive, I did not feel that that was going to be the case, just for the simple fact, this one's dead. You're not going to have any witnesses if you've done something.
Whether June is a witness or something worse, investigators are now certain the truth is going to come out. And when it does, it will leave a permanent scar on the town of Monk's Corner. On the morning of August 28th, 2012, officers with the Berkeley County, South Carolina Sheriff's Office arrive at the home of Jennifer Hill. They have the grim duty of notifying her that her daughter Dana has been murdered.
I saw the agony that they were facing, and I saw the pain and the why. Why? I heard that many times. Why my daughter?
And it was just devastating all the way around.
My emotions ran a lot of anger though, because you want to know why, and then when you get a reason why, and you don't really like that reason. There's a lot of evil in this world.
Meanwhile, 10 miles away in Marion National Forest, the search for Dana's friend June Gary is expanding.
And we just spread out that entire area into a super large grid. We're calling in more folks, more people on the ground. I mean, we're bringing everything we got, every resource we could possibly get into that area.
Despite the all-out effort, by day's end, there's still no sign of the 22-year-old single mother, or any indication she's dead or alive.
We ended up receiving a phone call that a gentleman who believes he found the remains of another female. Based off the clothing description, and both these girls suffered from gunshot wounds, we felt very certain that it was the remains of June Gary.
The two bodies were about 10 miles apart. Didn't really know what to think of that. It was odd, obviously.
It's a marker. June's house is only a mile or two from here. He wanted somebody to find her.
Although neither site reveals any clue as to who's responsible, police still have a man they want to talk to. Arthur Chavis, otherwise known as Ray Ray.
The investigators got the impression that June was uncomfortable to be around him because I think he wanted a relationship with her, and I don't think she was going to be a willing participant.
You heard about the girls that are missing?
Yes, sir.
Do you know them?
I know one of them.
Which one did you know?
Mm-hmm.
You knew June? How do you know June?
I met her at a party like 4 or 5 years back. Y'all haven't found them yet?
They're out there looking. Anybody advise you of your rights or anything? You're not being charged with anything. You're none of their arrest, nothing like that. However, I still advise your rights so you're aware of them.
Mm-hmm. We told him that we knew that he was their friend, and that he might know somebody that knows somebody who might be able to point us in the right direction.
He did not have any indication on his criminal record of any kind of violent past or any kind of violent crime charges.
What did you do this weekend?
Laid up in the bed or on the couch.
All weekend?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't have a job.
Hung out all day to watch TV?
I talked to my cousin on the phone.
Who's your cousin?
Killing that one.
Chavis gave us an alibi on where he was supposed to be at. It was very, very odd that he lived so close to the incident location. So at that point, we couldn't identify him as a suspect or rule him out.
So you only knew June. You didn't know the other girl, Damon?
Yeah, I didn't know her.
When was the last time you talked to June?
Probably about 2 weeks ago on the phone. And the last time I actually seen her in person was like a month ago.
He talked about how he tried to call her every day. Sometimes she would answer her phone, sometimes she wouldn't. But he claims he hadn't talked to her in probably a couple of weeks and hadn't seen her in over a month. And, it just kind of seemed a little odd that this girl doesn't want anything to do with him, but he calls her every day to check on her. Just seemed a little weird, a little odd.
Though the odd behavior is nagging, it's not enough to hold Chavis, but it is enough to put him in a photo lineup.
We asked him to take photographs, and he didn't have any problems with us taking pictures of him.
Police arranged for June's brother-in-law, Ernie Young, to review the photos. Could Arthur Chavis be the mystery man he saw driving Dana's car?
It's a 6-man photo lineup. It helps that they can say, yes, that's the person that did it. All these pictures have to be pretty much the same look in order for it to be valid.
Take your time. We want you to be sure.
I recognize him. I think I saw him in June once. It's been a while.
He knew Chavis, worked with June at a Walmart here in Monk's Corner.
Is that the man that you saw in Dana's car?
No, it wasn't him.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, obviously, it's a little frustrating because, we're trying to track down every lead and we're trying to talk to everybody because everybody may have a little piece of the puzzle that we need to help solve this crime.
With June's connections leading police nowhere, they turned back to the men who had interest in Dana.
So Dana had feelings and was still on again, off again, dating Chris Feathers, and you got Rodney Waits obviously had some deep feelings for Dana.
Chris Feathers' alibi that he was gaming at a friend's house is confirmed. But police have yet to question Rodney Waits, a young man Dana's parents described as having a crush on their daughter.
We decided that we need to interview him to see what the relationship was between him and Dana.
Rodney was a local volunteer fireman, volunteered with several of the local fire stations.
I heard the killer burned their car to get rid of the evidence. Did you ever ride in it? No.
When was the last time you saw her?
Friday night. We went and got something to eat.
He said that he would like to be romantic with her, but they hadn't really, they weren't boyfriend and girlfriend per se.
So where were you after midnight on Sunday night?
I was asleep. Here.
Through the process, he was cooperative. He gave us information he could, and we were able to eliminate him as a person that was involved in this case.
4 days have passed since Dana Woods and June Garrett disappeared. The people of Monk's Corner have seen the case escalate from a missing persons case to a shocking double homicide. This all leaves the tiny town haunted by the thought that one of their neighbors could be the killer.
Just going to the grocery store, a lot of us, even myself, were looking at people's like, well, did you do it? Or did I know someone who did it? Everybody was scared, finding out that 2 girls who could do no wrong had been shot. And everybody was, keeping their children close. And teenagers weren't allowed out at night anymore.
We were tasking detectives to go out and just start looking for video surveillance from Monk's Corner all the way out to that area.
I didn't really know June, but I knew Dana.
Our area, very tight-knit community. Most everybody there went to the same schools, know each other. So if something happens in that area, usually people talk about it.
Dana's boyfriend actually told me I ought to be careful about talking to the police.
When did he tell you that?
Just a minute ago, he was outside pumping his gas.
Sometimes I've got feelings, what do they call it, the hair that stands up on the back of your neck. And you get that kind of feeling, there's something going on.
As the dog days of summer 2012 set in, the small South Carolinian town of Monk's Corner finds itself gripped by shock and despair. How can anyone here make sense of the double homicide of 2 young women in their community?
I honestly couldn't imagine who could have done this to Dana and June. Why somebody would want to do this to either of the girls, I couldn't fathom. Nobody in our community would have done anything like that. Maybe it's a stranger just passing through.
Compounding local anxiety, law enforcement appears at a loss to explain, let alone solve, the heartbreaking case.
It doesn't make sense that these 2 young ladies who were good individuals with no kind of crazy past or anything? They were good girls. How they end up murdered?
The latest lead comes from the gas station clerk who gives investigators information that points suspicion back towards Dana's on-again, off-again boyfriend, Chris Feathers.
She tells us that Chris Feathers had told her that she needed to be careful with what she was telling police.
Chris is involved in the murders. His alibi's lying too. Whoever burned Dana's car needed an accomplice. Get him back to town. There he is.
Hey, Chris. Telling people not to talk to the police about the murders?
What? Why would I tell anyone that?
That's what we want to know.
She talked to Hope at the gas station. I just told her that if she did talk to the police, not to tell anyone.
Some people that you talk to, they're very evasive. They shut down. It drags it out that much longer when they really didn't have anything to do with it, and they're still playing this cat and mouse game.
I heard whoever did it's got a brother or cousin or something telling people not to talk to the cops.
I think what he was really just trying to say in this was, hey, be careful because these guys are looking for anybody who might be talking to the bullies.
Who's making the threats?
I don't know. I was going to ask around at work tonight and then call you guys.
He wanted to help. He wanted to provide information that could help find out who was responsible for the death of his girlfriend.
If you overhear anything, you let us know. Somebody call him the kid.
Amber Jenkins called up to the sheriff's office and asked to speak to us regarding the two missing girls and the death of them. Turns out she's the manager at one of the local gas stations in the area. So we went down and met with her.
A girl who works here, Emma Denver, her boyfriend's been talking to her about the murders, telling her stuff that you don't see on the news.
You know her boyfriend's name?
Yes, I do. It's Caleb Matlock.
Anna Denver had read a newspaper article about this horrible crime in Moss Corner, and she began to talk to Matlock about it. Matlock confided in her intimate details regarding the death of Dana and June.
Is she working today?
No, she's off for a couple days.
Do you have her address?
Sure.
Anna Denver?
Yeah.
I'd like to ask you a few questions.
About what?
Is Caleb Matlock your boyfriend?
He's the father to my kids. Why? Is he in some kind of trouble?
She's being semi-cooperative with us on some things and giving us a little bit of information.
Hang on. I got my baby back here. I gotta take care of him.
Sure. If you can come down to the sheriff's office, we'd rather talk to you down there.
I'll get my mom to take care of him.
It felt like she was maybe doing a little bit of a stall tactic at the door, but she had children running around, and her story kind of made sense. So the other detective accompanied her out to the car, and I stayed in the house just explaining to him, hey, she's agreed to go down and talk to us at the station, and then, as soon as we're done, we'll bring her right back.
So Anna's not in any trouble at all. You just want to talk to her about Caleb Matlock.
He just went out the back a second ago.
What?
It was a holy crap moment. It really was. So I immediately run out through their house, out the back door, and I'm looking for him. So I'm thinking, all right, where's he at? Where's he at?
I need assistance to secure an area in Dorchester County.
But immediately getting on the radio, I let our dispatch know the direction of travel, and I get a good clothing description from the family members of what he was last wearing, and all that's going out. He ultimately ends up running across the street to a local business and hiding behind a dumpster, starts changing clothes, trying to change his appearance. So he was carrying a backpack with him. They looked inside, and there was actually a handgun inside the bag.
Obviously, Matlock was brought to the sheriff's office and placed in the interview room.
So, how well do you know June?
Grew up with her. A lot of history there. Dated her for a little while.
He did not mind talking to us as long as it was not about the incident.
What about Dana? Yeah, no.
Well, they just met her once.
Okay. Where'd you meet her at?
Her and Jim was hanging out and just saw her. Hi, how you doing? Caleb. I'm Dana. That was it.
Matlock told me that June had called him the night that they went to go to the fast food restaurant to check on his child because it was his child's birthday. So they were kind of close.
All right, so they get there, and I guess you get up with them. What goes on after that?
I saw chit chat. I don't want to talk about that.
Okay.
He admits to his involvement in burning the car. He admits to involvement in the crime. Admits being with both girls, Dana and June Gary.
He placed himself there, and then he started backtracking, trying to say that he didn't shoot anybody.
Things I want to say, I just don't know how to push them out.
I understand.
And every time I'm about to say it, I just get choked up.
Totally understand. Totally understand. Let's start out a different way. How's this? So you meet up with June, okay? Where did y'all go to?
This little dirt road that we used to hang out at. There was another guy with some medicine in his foot.
Who was that?
He kept saying another guy, and he would never mention the other guy's name.
But he put the blame on some person that he didn't even know that was in the vehicle with him, which we knew wasn't the truth.
Tell me about the other guy. What was going on with him?
The dreaded, I want my attorney. And at that point, we had to stop talking to him.
"5 days after the murder of Dana Woods and June Gary, investigators from the Berkeley County Sheriff's Office have a suspect in custody. Caleb Matlock admits he was present when the young women were killed, but blames the murders on a second person he refuses to name. Detectives now reconsider the person of interest who had actually named Caleb Matlock as his alibi, his cousin Ray Ray, or Arthur Chavis.
Based off all the facts and findings in the investigation at that point, we went back out to Arthur Chavis.
What's going on? You're going to have to be a little more truthful with me than what you're being, okay?
What are you talking about?
Caleb, we picked him up today.
Okay.
We've talked to him.
Mm-hmm.
And he's so distraught over everything that happened. He basically gave it up.
Okay.
So, what you need to do is tell me what you know about this, or we're going to have just his story.
Well, I don't know anything about it, to be honest with you.
At first, he was in denial, and then as he realized, they know a lot more than I thought they did, he started, talking about it.
I didn't know he was going to kill him.
You need to tell me everything, because
I knew he was going to take the car. I knew he was going to take the car, but I didn't know he was going to shoot him.
His idea was to rob them and steal Dana's car, then use Dana's car to go commit more crime to get money to fix his car.
They were going to rob some lady that was filling ATMs or something to do with the bank. And that's why they needed the car.
They got in the car with June and Dana. At some point, Caleb mentions, hey, I lost my wallet out in the woods. Would you guys be willing to drive us out there?
and he offered him $50 to take those to go get his wallet. And that's how it all started.
I think that June really liked Caleb. She may have had a crush on him.
And Dana, being the loyal friend, wanted to do her best to help June win over Caleb's heart.
Dana was the kind of girl that if you needed it, she would give you the shirt off her back.
According to Chavis, everybody's joking, having a good time, and they're going to this location where the incident took place.
So I doped up, I was walking slow, and he shot me. Just like that. Like, it happened so fast.
At some point, Chavis is dropped back off, and Caleb Matlock keeps Dana's car. And then the very next day, the car is spotted going over the Telrace Canal, and that's the same day that vehicle was located in the Fuller Street area back out there where Dana's body was found. And Caleb Matlock is the one responsible for burning the car.
We knew that both of them were involved, and thinking that Matlock ratted on him, Chavis ratted on Matlock, and that was what we needed.
I still don't believe that it was over stealing a car. I'll always believe there was more that happened in the woods that night, and I'll believe there was more to the story that we'll never know.
In August of 2014, Caleb Matlock pleads guilty to 2 counts of murder, arson, and armed robbery. 9 months later, Arthur Chavis also pleads guilty to armed robbery and manslaughter. The little town of Monk's Corner still struggles to accept that Dana and June weren't murdered by strangers, but by friends.
They needed to know that they did something wrong, and they took 2 innocent lives and left a child without a mother and mothers without their daughters. There's no way either one of them got what they deserved. Their lives were cut short for no reason at all. Our community was cheated out of 2 girls that could have done so many things for us.
Yet the spirit Dana and June shared with others here endures.
I mean, you think about Dana and June every day, every week. You know, you think about what could have been, marriage and kids and grandkids and stuff you'll never see.
I want to be remembered as loving and caring, as she really was, and to be a strong-willed person that could have accomplished anything she wanted to. She's the little sister that I will always remember.
With its canopy landscapes and hidden hollers, Wayne County, Tennessee is the kind of place outsiders seldom infiltrate.
Now come on in. Have a seat.
Leaving those who live here to form an extremely strong bond for each other, which is what brings Stephen and Sylvia Beersdorf to the sheriff's office on an otherwise quiet afternoon.
It was Saturday, January the 16th, 2010, when they came to the sheriff's office and wanted to report Rose Goggins, their son's fiance, missing.
Okay, what's your son's name?
Stephen Beersdorf.
Okay.
He used to be a deacon here. Before he left from down there to get ready to go to Iraq, he moved her back in the house with us.
The couple goes on to explain Thursday evening, roughly 36 hours ago, was the last time they saw or heard from Rose.
Thursday, she's supposed to went to classes. EMT classes. She left that evening, I think it's about 4:30 when I seen her going out to drive. She got a little Ford Blue Escort. That night, she didn't come back. Supposed to be home about 10:30. I need you to fill this out for me.
The first thing we did when we got the report that she was missing, we did a bolo on the car, be on the lookout.
Officers also reach out to Rose's family in Georgia, hoping that maybe they've heard something.
I got a phone call, getting ready to go to church, and we got that call. I just had an awful feeling that something was wrong.
I couldn't even think straight at the time. I couldn't believe it. I said, she's not headed to Georgia. I would know about it.
Usually, we don't start any of those for 48 hours to make sure someone's just not spending the night with a friend or just gone somewhere and just hadn't told anyone. But with this, we knew there's a little bit of history there, so we started the investigation immediately.
That history between Rose Goggins, Stephen Beersdorf Jr., and the Wayne County Sheriff's Department is rich in risk and intrigue.
I had hired Stephen right out of the academy. Didn't last very long. He was not supervisable. He was very insubordinate. We had a lot of complaints on how he talked to people. On the flip side of that, when you were around him in a controlled environment, he was very polite, a totally different person.
Before long, Stephen's colleagues realize his split persona spills over to his home life.
Rose came in, she was very upset. I remember she really looked scared, and she then told us kind of the history of what was going on, that Stephen Jr. had been assaulting her.
She told me that Stephen had beat her. Stephen had beat on her, and he hit her when she had the baby in her arms.
How long has this been going on? A while. I was just too scared to say anything. She had been scared to report it because at the time Stephen Jr. was employed with the sheriff's department, and she was afraid that he was going to somewhat be protected.
We assured her that we didn't really care who he was or who he worked for. Domestic violence was something we took very seriously.
But when she realizes her testimony will put her son's father behind bars, Rose backs down.
She just kept saying, I can't do it, Aunt Ronnie, I can't do it.
It's very common for a victim to go back to their abuser. A lot of times, especially when there's a child involved, they go back just because they feel like it's the best thing for that child.
Now, 8 months later, Rose's disappearance has investigators eager to find out, where is Stephen Jr.?
Now, this is Detective Amy Moore with the Wayne County Sheriff's Department. I'm trying to locate a private.
Government sources quickly confirm Rose's fiancé is indeed stationed at Camp Shelby, Mississippi.
We talked to his company commander and some of the immediate people in his platoon and his squad leader. He didn't have a vehicle there, and he was in his quarters that afternoon. He was in his quarters that morning, and so there was no way he could have made it to Tennessee and back in that length of time.
Okay, thank you.
With Stephen Jr.'s whereabouts confirmed, an aura of mystery sets as day one of this investigation comes to an end. If Rose's fiancé isn't responsible for her disappearance, who is? Rose Goggins' residence in Wayne County is relatively recent. She moved to Tennessee from Georgia 4 years earlier. Not long after that, a chance meeting would change her life forever.
She went to work at a restaurant, and that's, from my understanding, where she met Stephen. She always had a thing for men in uniform.
Stephen's deputy uniform wasn't the only thing that attracts Rose to him. His tight-knit family is known throughout Wayne County to lead a serene and secluded lifestyle.
They lived very far out of town. They had a really long, mile-long, narrow driveway that was way off the road.
A country girl through and through. That kind of family togetherness appeals to Rose. After 6 months together, Rose is thrilled to learn that she and Stephen will soon have a family of their own.
She was happy. She was happy, and she got engaged to Stephen. And she said, well, I'm going to move in with his mom and daddy.
In late December 2009, soon after their son Aaron's birth, Rose and Stephen start planning their wedding. The goal is to have the ceremony before Stephen's Army enlistment ships him overseas. In the meantime, Rose moves in with Stephen's parents and resumes her studies to become an EMT.
There's lots of families that still live together. It's pretty common in this area, especially if they are going to school and they're young and just getting started.
On Sunday morning, Stephen Jr. arrives back in Wayne County, not for his wedding, but hoping to shed light on his fiance's disappearance.
After all this happened, and when the commanding officers knew what happened, it took him about a day or so, and he was back here.
He seemed like he was upset that she was missing.
We need information. When was the last time you heard from Rose?
She called me on Friday, but I couldn't pick up because I was on duty. And she didn't leave me a message.
You know that's after she disappeared.
I wish I could have heard what she had to say. I'm not quite convinced she went to class that night.
This was her first day of class, and she had just picked up her books and uniform. And this was a class that she really needed to be in.
Why would Rose skip class? Stephen Jr. has a theory.
I'm pretty sure she's seeing someone else.
Talking to Stephen, he'd indicated he didn't think Rose would leave her son, but he did say that she had been texting maybe an old boyfriend.
Investigators promise Stephen they will follow up on this lead, but also ask him to stay close, just in case.
We started trying to check facts and find out her whereabouts, where she'd been, where she was supposed to be going.
As investigators escort Stephen out of the sheriff's office, a report comes in on an abandoned vehicle.
We have a possible match on the car belonging to Rose Goggins.
And that's not all.
We discovered the car had been burned.
Extending across a generous bend in the Tennessee River, the stream-filled countryside of Wayne County spreads across hills and hollers between Nashville and the Alabama state line.
It's a real tight community, but there's people that, distance themselves from each other.
On the riverside, tugboats, barges, and pontoon party cruisers breathe color and commerce into this woodsy community, where logging is the dominant industry.
The river is still a big part of our everyday life here in Clifton and Wayne County. It's recreational, it's fun, but also people work on the river, so that's a way of life around here.
Though it's a discovery along one of the area's isolated logging routes that has investigators believing they have a break in the case of Rose Goggins' disappearance.
The vehicle was located in West Tennessee and her school's in Middle Tennessee, which is totally in the opposite direction.
We thought she was headed in one direction and her car is in another, and now it's burned.
It's a match.
And they did find the VIN number and identified that that was Rose's vehicle. That put more credence to the gut feeling that maybe something else nefarious had happened instead of her just disappearing.
When Rose's mother receives news of these new developments, a dark intuition takes hold.
When they found the car, I told them, I said, my daughter's burned up. I just had a feeling that she was burnt. I said, check the trunk, and the detective told me she's not in the trunk. I said, she's burnt somewhere.
No human remains are found in the car. However, when the Wayne County Sheriff calls in the state fire marshal, he does find clear proof of foul play.
smells like an accelerant was used. We were 99 and 9/10% sure that she was dead for one reason. If she was running away or leaving with someone, she wouldn't burn up the transportation. Wayne County Sheriff's investigators also determined it's time to bring in reinforcement from the FBI. We work a lot of cases jointly because we have the ability to share resources and bring different types of resources to the table to forward an investigation. We had a meeting that afternoon with all the investigators, and we had decided to change it from a missing person to search and recovery. The escalation of the case sends investigators back to the scene of Rose's abandoned vehicle. With some luck, they're hoping to find additional evidence.
Looks like they left out of here spinning.
These are bigger than those. Perhaps a man and a woman? Do the smaller set of footprints trace Rose's final steps?
What do we have over here?
We found one beer can and one soda can. Those was taken to TBI lab to see if there's any indication of any fingerprints or anything we could find.
Meanwhile, news of Rose's disappearance, coupled with the discovery of her burned-out vehicle, circulates out of Wayne County all across the southeast. The media got involved in it very quick and were very helpful to us because they were reaching people that we could never reach. They had pictures of Rose, and they were going all over the mid-state.
You have a burned out car, you have a young mother who has a child that she cares for, and she didn't show up where she was supposed to show up. So, obviously the anxiety level, the investigation is increasing.
We got everybody pulled together in the community. People were concerned. People were actually looking for Rose.
Leading the charge is Rose's fiancé, Private Stephen Beersdorf Jr.
He and his parents went out and was looking for Rose and were talking to people and trying to figure out if anybody had seen her. We just started kind of looking at him as just a worried fiancé.
Investigators do follow the lead he gave them by looking into Rose's ex-boyfriend.
Stephen Jr. had told us that Rose was running around on him, so he didn't know if maybe Rose had contacted a prior ex-boyfriend, and so he did provide us with a name to contact to talk to see if maybe that was true.
Corey Stapleton is the man who originally drew Rose to Wayne County from her home in Georgia. She was on a high school girls' trip when they met, and he captured her heart.
I let her go with a couple of her girlfriends to Tennessee on a vacation, and she met him. And they wanted to start dating.
She kept telling me, I'm grown now, I can do what I want to do, and I want to go, I love him, that teenage love thing. She loved him, and she wanted to go.
Corey Stapleton?
Do you hear about Rose?
Yes. When were you last in contact with her?
Well, I mean, she's got a whole new life now, but we keep in touch some. She lives for this little guy now. She sent this a few days ago.
When did you last see her?
Never. All right, I never see her.
Where were you last Thursday afternoon, the 14th?
Thursday, I was running drills with the high school basketball team at the gym. I've been helping to coach this season.
The easiest steps is check cell phone records and see if the cell phone's been used. Go ahead and subpoena any records, see if we pinged off at any towers.
While awaiting the data, mysterious tips start pouring in, and they are suggesting something completely unexpected.
Around town and even in surrounding counties, we were receiving information and people thought they had seen Rose.
We had several sightings of Rose that people had called in. Everyone was trying to do as much as they possibly could to locate her.
Sheriff's Department, Agent Moore speaking.
But it's a call from a witness who knows Rose from someplace other than her missing poster that draws the most attention.
There was a tip that came into law enforcement that there was a sighting at a mall in Florence, Alabama.
Okay, thanks. We're on our way. Looks like we're needed in Alabama.
All right, let's go.
In the hills and hollows of Clifton, Tennessee, gossip flows as steady as the streams that run through town. So when 21-year-old Rose Goggins vanishes, leaving behind a 10-month-old baby boy, everyone has a theory as to what may have become of her.
There was rumors going around, but I did get asked. I told them it's still under investigation. We don't need to discuss it. We didn't want to speak out of turn and jeopardize our case.
People would say they saw her here and they saw her there, or they saw her over in Alabama, and it was just confusing as to whether she was really missing.
Chasing down all credible tips, investigators head out to Florence, Alabama, some 60 miles away. This one coming from a retail clerk whose husband is in the same National Guard unit as Rose's fiancé, Stephen Beersdorf, Jr. She claims she recognized Rose shopping at the local mall.
Hi, I'm Agent Moore. She was familiar with Rose, and she was saying that she saw Rose.
She was right over there. Would you mind coming back to security with us? Of course.
I requested video surveillance and was able to pull that surveillance video and was able to go back to that time and date and try to determine if it was Rose in fact.
That's her. That's Rose.
The person that was in the footage favored Rose.
Stop. Go back. It's not her.
Thanks for your time.
It was not her. And as far as sightings, and none of them panned out.
You get false sightings doing missing persons reports all the time, but you have to check out all the leads. Anytime you get any information, you've got to look into it.
Desperate to resolve the case, investigators look to dial in their efforts.
The immediate logical step was to get and interview everybody in the family, get their story down to understand what exactly transpired at Rose Goggins' last appearance.
Rose's fiancé, Stephen Beersdorf Jr., was far from home on a military base in Shelby, Mississippi, when Rose vanished. That leaves his parents and brother as the last people to see her. And the one Beersdorf investigators have never talked to is Stephen's younger brother, Josh.
Josh Beersdorf was living there at the residence as well. He's a very well-built man, appeared to be very strong. He had an interest in MMA types of fighting.
Josh Beersdorf?
Yeah, what do you want? This interview was to try to determine the last time he saw Rose Goggins.
We're still working out the timeline. Like my folks said, last time I'd seen her was late Thursday afternoon. Looked like she was headed to her EMT class. That's how she was dressed. She had her books with her.
Josh was able to provide the same timeline that he saw Rose leaving to prepare for class around 4 o'clock.
The next line of questioning yields intel that catches the attention of investigators.
And how did you and Rose get along? My family has nothing to do with this. Rose's family, that's who you should be looking at.
During the interview, Josh provided some information about Rose's stepfather. He had understood that Rose's stepfather had recently got out of prison for sexual abuse that had happened with Rose as a younger child.
Thank you for your time, Josh.
He wanted us to be aware of that and to look at that as a possibility of something that might have happened to Rose.
Hi, Kathy. This is Detective Moore calling again.
Speaking with Rose's grieving mother, Detective Moore must ask her to recount another painful event.
That was happening right underneath my house, right under my own roof. To find out my husband was messing with Rose, and life really fell apart then.
Agent Sullivan, here to see Rob Smith.
Rose's stepfather is currently at a halfway house in Georgia.
The FBI actually talked to him and tried to determine if he had any knowledge of what happened to Rose or had any inkling as to what was going on.
Have a seat. I'm looking for Rose Goggins. Rose? She's missing.
I don't go anywhere near her. Wish I could help, but I had nothing to do with her disappearing. I have a monitor on.
After they had talked to him, they were pretty well satisfied that he did not have any involvement or knowledge of the case.
Soda and beer cans, footprints, a burned car, with no clear suspect and only a smattering of mysterious clues. Investigators begin to worry that Rose's disappearance may never be solved.
We were all scared. We were not used to this kind of danger or feeling unsteady or unsafe.
With all leads basically getting cold, word comes out of the Wayne County Jail that someone wants to talk. A local handyman being held for a probation violation claims to have a story to tell.
Zach Anderson was an inmate in Wayne County Jail, and when he found out that Rose was a missing person and presumed dead, he wanted to talk to us.
Well, go ahead. You got our attention.
Usually when someone comes forth like this and wants to give us information, if they're in jail, they want some kind of consideration for the information they're given. But he never asked for anything. He needed to give us information and get it off his conscience.
It's been a week since the discovery of Rose Goggins' burned-out car on a remote logging road some 50 miles from her home in Wayne County, Tennessee. And after a succession of false leads, investigators are intrigued by handyman Zach Anderson's eagerness to talk from a cell in the Wayne County Jail.
Zach had worked for the beer store in 2009, and he had a lot of knowledge about the conversations they had had concerning Rose.
And what would you say was their demeanor toward Rose?
Hate. Sheer hatred. Especially Grandma Sylvia.
Why is that?
Maybe because Rose ratted her son out.
The information he provided us in the statement was he was present one particular day, and he was telling us parts of the conversation where Sylvia was talking about she needed to get rid of that bitch.
Later that night, we sit around drinking.
Hey, do you want extra money?
Big Steve offered Zach $1,000 if he would kidnap Rose and just bring her to the house, and said he would take care of the rest of it. Him not worry about anything because no body, no murder.
According to Zach, Sylvia and her sister Donna were both present for the conversation. His story is so remarkable, investigators wonder if it can possibly be true. Could he have a score of his own to settle with his former employers?
I think it's like any other information that comes from a jailhouse snitch. You have to take it and you have to evaluate it and put it as part of the puzzle. But certainly it has to be corroborated.
And why didn't you come to us then?
Zach felt like he didn't know at the time how legit and how true they were meaning that, but now that Rose has disappeared, that he felt like because they approached him that they could have approached someone else or they were capable of doing something.
You said you were drinking beers with Stephen Sr. What kind of beers?
The ship stuff.
It was a turning point. This provided us with someone providing a statement that Sylvia and Steve Sr. had made the comment they wanted to get rid of Rose.
Armed with a warrant, investigators head out to the Beersdorf's compound.
It was determined that we would go out, the FBI agents, along with Wayne County Sheriff's Office and the TBI agents, would go to the house, interview all the family members, interview them separately, and try to get some understanding of what happened and what was going on.
Warning, take a look around.
Doesn't look like I have much choice.
When we walked in the house, it almost looked like a model home. There was nothing out of place. Everything in the house looked almost staged. It is absolutely the cleanest house I've ever been in my life. The living situation at the house, the entire family actually lived there. Stephen and Rose lived upstairs, and so did Sylvia and Big Steve. Josh and his wife lived in the basement.
Jenny, can we talk? Privately?
The Beersdorf attitude towards women was that the man kind of controlled the situation. The women couldn't talk to Stephen Sr. unless they were spoken to first. Stephen Sr. was very domineering in the home, just controlled everything.
It had to be very uncomfortable in a house that you can't speak to the man who lives there for fear of what was to happen to you.
Which is why investigators make sure Josh's girlfriend Jenny is nowhere near the others when they start their questioning.
So what can you tell me about Rose?
Jeannie was a little upset. Remember, she was kind of uneasy. She was also pregnant during the time, and I know a couple of times we were concerned about the pregnancy.
The question that gets her the most emotional is one about Rose leaving her son behind.
She had told us that she was aware of a prior boyfriend that Rose had talked to, but she did not give any indication that she thought there was anything more than just being friends.
I was observing the ones that wasn't being interviewed at that time, and I noticed that Mr. Beersdorf, very oddly, he would get up from a couch where he was sitting and he'd go stare out the window across the field. And I found it very, very odd that he would do that.
Steve, we want you to come back with us to the station.
Investigators want the elder Beersdorfs to take what's known as a vocal stress test.
A voice stress analysis test is just based on the stress of your voice when you answer a question. A question like, is today Monday, should have no stress. If you say, did you kill Rose, that should show an extreme amount of stress if you are guilty of it or have knowledge.
It's no problem. We can take a test for you.
So Mr. Beersdorf, along with Sylvia, were transported to Wayne County Sheriff's Office.
Hold on a second. I want to take this test.
It was at that point that the TBI agent said, Stephen, if you didn't kill Rose Goggins, because I believe that you had something to do with her death, that we really need to know who did.
We have sources saying you threatened to harm Rose. And your previous story doesn't hold up based on everything we've learned about this young lady.
I did it.
He began to make statements like, I'm going to go to the electric chair. I'm going to get a lethal injection over this.
How did you do it?
She had it coming for a long time. And that day I'd had enough.
He stated that he and Rose got into an altercation at his shop at the Beersdorf residence, and it was a pretty violent exchange. And he was accusing Rose of going out with other men, and then Steve turned around to walk away. She threw a bottle at him, hit him in the back of the head, and he said that pissed him off, and he turned around, walked back over to the car.
I just reached in that open car window and I choked her as hard as I could.
How did you know she was dead?
And his response to that was, well, I heard her gurgling, and then I didn't hear her gurgling anymore.
And what happened next?
They headed away from the Beersdorf house, went to the Cross-Eyed Cricket, which is a little convenience store, and he went inside, bought a couple of 2-liter Cokes, poured the contents out, and then put gas in the bottles. Now this was the whole time Rose was sitting in the front seat of the car, deceased.
Drove her downtown, torched it right there on that old logging road where I found it.
There were no remains in the car. What'd you do with the body?
No body, no murder. I dumped that in the river. Might as well be in the ocean by now.
The chilling confession somewhat matches the artifacts of the case. Problem is, police don't believe Stephen's story is entirely true.
One of the things that was relatively easy was to go and talk to the folks at the Cross-Eyed Cricket to determine if, in fact, Beersdorf had been in there and purchased these gasoline items. Everybody knows everybody in Clifton. So if somebody came in the evening hours, somebody would most likely remember that.
About a week ago, do you remember seeing Stephen Beersdorf Sr. in here buying soda, gasoline?
No, Stephen hasn't been in here.
We talked to the night clerk, we talked to folks that work there, and we were just not able to substantiate that. There was nobody that remembered him being in there.
More difficult and far more important to the investigation and to Rose's family is recovering her body from the Tennessee River. Within 24 hours of Beersdorf's confession, the search is underway.
The TBI, along with search and rescue teams from Decatur, Wayne, and several other counties, spent the day searching 10 miles of the Tennessee River for Rose Goggins' body. They are using sonar equipment to see deep into the murky water.
Massive. There was the full response of EMS. They had set up a command post. It was a massive response. Boats were launched to try to recover this young lady's body.
From the bridge where he supposedly said that he dropped her, and further down, if there was a body, it could have traveled some distance down the river. So it was a huge task.
Given the fruitless effort, detectives are left wondering, if Stephen Beersdorf's taunting confession cannot be confirmed, was there ever any truth to it?
He said numerous times, no body, no murder. And I think if he thought we were not able to find the body, then we could not prove there had been a murder.
One clue that Stephen's story doesn't account for. At the scene of the burning car, there were 2 sets of footprints. Stephen Sr. is covering for someone. The question is, who?
Nearly a week after Rose Goggins' disappearance, authorities are poking holes in her would-be father-in-law's disturbing murder confession.
He indicated that he had dumped her body off the bridge, the Highway 114 bridge, into the Tennessee River, and then hitchhiked back to his residence, and that's what he claimed was the truth to the death of Rose Goggins.
Now authorities end their efforts to corroborate Big Steve's story and double down on separating the facts they've proved from the fiction he's been peddling.
So if Stephen was alone at the car, then who left these footprints?
Could the prints have been made by Beiersdorf matriarch Sylvia? If so, then Stephen Sr. is lying about hitchhiking home.
We requested his phone records, we requested Sylvia's phone records, and we were actually able to confirm that both their cell phones were hidden in the towers along the path from their residence to where the vehicle was.
The fact that the crime was at least aided and abetted by Sylvia is now all but confirmed in the minds of investigators. What's yet to be determined is how Rose's remains were discarded and where they may be found.
Steve had the mentality that there's no body, no crime. We always had that gut feeling that she was on the property somewhere, so we just continued to talk to one another and talk to the district attorney, and he was able to finally approve that we have a search warrant and that we can search the property.
Ken Martin. And just as the warrant comes in, so does another key bit of information.
Not gonna believe this. Rosie's car had a GPS. Rose's car was on the verge of being repossessed, and the people in the car lot came down and told us that there was a GPS on the car. It had pinged at 12 midnight, and the car had not left the Beiersdorf residence, and it pinged again in McNairy County, and that it went dead.
This conflicts with Stephen Sr.'s story of driving Rose's body and her car away right after he killed her. Why wait so long to move the car?
We arrived on scene with the dogs, and I said, we gotta put our minds here and don't give up and look.
Initially, when we first made contact in the house with them, we were all in the living room area, and there were several of us that noted that Steve was looking out to the field.
We went northwest on the property, and we got middle ways of the field, and her dog caught the scent and actually went to the burn pile immediately. I started digging around with a stick, and then a piece of flesh. It was already decaying and burned and charred, and it had a very foul smell. It smelled like human. I knew I'd found Rose.
The bones would fit in a coffee cup. So she burnt. She was cremated about 60 feet from the kitchen window.
I brought dirt from another area and actually put it over some of the burn area, and then took the backhoe and actually pounded her in the ground and just scattered her remains.
I think Steve thought that he got rid of every piece of evidence there was, that we would never find anything to prove that she was on the property.
He was wrong. DNA from the piece of flesh found proves the remains are those of Rose Goggins. Big Steve Beiersdorf is charged with first-degree murder, and his wife Sylvia is charged as a co-conspirator.
I mean, they're just cold-hearted, just what I would define as evil.
Rose trusted everybody. She didn't think people would be bad people. She was wrong this time.
Faced with the death penalty, Steve Sr. takes a plea deal and receives 99 years. Sylvia also avoids trial. She receives 15 years for her guilty plea to criminal conspiracy to commit homicide. she will be eligible for parole in just 6 years.
I believe the mother did it. I'll always believe that the mother did it. And everybody else did the cover up.
And she has no remorse. None. None. And they still don't really know what really happened, what took place. God, He knows the truth of what happened. I may never.